بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق أجمعين حبيب قلوب العالمين أبا القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the merciful. On the behalf of the Muslim Association and the Ahulubayt Student Association, I'd like to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam.
It's a pleasure for me to be your MC tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mahmoud Nawab, and we have a wonderful event planned for you tonight. For those of you who don't know, this is our Ashura Awarness Campaign. This is the second event in a series of events that we hold, and this is a speakers panel. So alhamdulillah, I hope you enjoy it. So the last week, alhamdulillah, we concluded the Arba'in of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, or 40 days after Ashura. So I'd like to ask you a question. Does this mean that we stop thinking about the sacrifice that Imam Husayn made, about the sacrifice that he made himself, how he sacrificed his family, his close friends, his relatives, and even his infant child? No. Even after Arba'in, we have to keep on thinking about the sacrifices he made. What was his message? There's a vast amount of messages that he gave us from this sacrifice. But in this Ashura awareness, we want to focus on one specific message. That of rising against oppression, standing up for what is good, and rejecting what is evil. Not just for the sake of himself, not just for the sake of his family, but for the sake of humanity. And this is what we want to stress on in this campaign. Karbala, shedding a light on humanity. Now inshallah, we have a great event tonight, and we can continue to think on this message. And there will be a speech, and after that followed by questions. So please, continue to think, and if you have any questions, write them down on a piece of paper, and inshallah, we will try to answer them. What better way to start off a program than with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself? And today I am honored to bring upon the stage a dear brother of mine, Brother Murtaza, to bless us with his beautiful voice and starting off this program with the words of the Holy Quran. Please welcome
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام تحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله.
MashaAllah, that was a very beautiful recitation. Now, as I said, the theme of this year's campaign is shedding the light on humanity. And when we think about humanity, when we thought about this topic, we decided that Imam Husayn alayhi salam was always for humanity and helping humanity. So mashallah, with this year's campaign, we are fundraising for the victims of Pakistan who have been devastated by a flood in 2010. Now, the proceeds of your donations that we are going to ask you to make, inshallah, are going to go to an organization named Nasimco. And they are going to do a great job of giving these proceeds to those who have been affected. Now, in our campaign, we just concluded 2 information tables in the University Center. And alhamdulillah, it was a great success. And we were able to give out information and spread the message of Imam Husayn. And I'd just like to give this moment to thank our volunteers who made this event possible. Please recite a loud salawat for them. And inshallah, we have many other events to come around, under this campaign name. On the 23rd of February, we're having a soccer tournament for sisters. And as well, on the 25th, we're having a soccer tournament for brothers. So inshallah, if anybody wants to play, the deadline to register is February 19th. Please check the Facebook page. And all the proceeds of this are going to go, inshallah, to helping the victims of this flood. Just because his voice is so beautiful, and I enjoyed it so much, what better way again to bring onto the stage Brother Murtaza to bless us with Alakom of Imam Husayn. Please welcome.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وسالت يوم الفاضت دمومك وسالت يابا وسالت كم روح انفنت لجلك يا أبا الفاض يابا وسالت عليكم والحزن شدت وسألت وين الكفل ضعني وسار بي هي وين الكفل ضعني وسار بي جوابك يا ابني يا عباس بزينب مهجتي الزهراء وصيتك قمر عدنان وما ظنيت تتركها أسيرة بولية العدوان يا ابني يا عباس يا ابني يا عباس يا ابني يا ابني يا عباس يا ابني يا عباس تذكر يوم مسايلها وعلى خدها الدمع ما حد يشوفه وتاليها بدون خمار تطب الكار تطب الشام والكوفة عن حماها سيفك وين وصلاتك المعروفة ترضى الشمر يشتمها ويضربها زجير وسنان يا ابني يا عباس
يا ابني يا عباس
يا ابني لا تآذيني بذكر مصيبة أمي حسين مو هينة على قلبي أشوف اللطمة فوق العين ولو ما وقفت عزمي وصية سيد الكونين نفخت الصور من غيظي وفنيت الإنس ويا الجان يا ابني يا عباس يا ابني
يا عباس
أنا معذور في أمري وانت يا الأبو معذور مصايب فاطمة الزهرة لقيتها زينب بعاشور وكل اللي لقاه حسين من ضلع أمه المكسور اي والله بعصرة الزهرة اللي حسين اندبح عطشان لحسين اندبح.
I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you with your voice, inshallah. We always look forward to whatever services you offer to Imam Husayn. So going back to the situation in Pakistan and what this campaign is fundraising for, I just want to give a few minutes to the situation in Pakistan right now. So for those of you who don't know, in July of 2010, the areas of the north. According to a BBC report, almost 40% of the population was affected in some way by this flood. That's almost 20 million of the population. And according to officials, the people affected were combined more than the 2004 Indian monsoon, the 2005 Kashmir earthquake, and the 2010 Haitian earthquake. So that's combined all that together. The Pakistan earthquake, flood in 2010 was combined more than that. Almost 43 billion US dollars is what they calculated the expense to be. Now you may be thinking to yourself, this was in July. What is the situation now? Probably things have been cleared up, but please remember, this is a developing country. People were not living in high-rise apartment buildings or in brick houses. When they were struck very hard. And in the aftermath, due to the unclean water conditions, disease like cholera and malaria and diarrhea broke out. And in Pakistan, a big industry is the farming industry. So you could imagine, when 790,000 square kilometers of the land's most fertile land were destroyed, you could imagine that in 2010, the farmers were not able to plant their seeds for the next coming crop. So what does that mean? That obviously means that right now there's a shortage of food, people are without shelter, and people are hungry, and people are ill. So inshallah, let's look. We just finished Arba'in, and Imam Husayn is giving us a message and has sacrificed himself for humanity. What would he expect us to do in this situation? Well, let's look into the stories and the events running into Karbala. When Imam Husayn was trying to go towards Kufa, he was stopped by Ibn Ziyad's commander, Hur ibn Riyahi, to stop and redirect it to Karbala, the hot desert stands. When they did this, his soldiers were thirsty. Now this is the enemy who has stopped you and made you encamp in a desert. They were thirsty. They were the enemies. But what did Imam Husayn do? What message did he give us about humanity and how to help them? He gave them water. He gave Hur water. He gave his soldiers water. And not only that, he gave the horses water. So subhanAllah, mashallah, if we take away anything from this, Imam Husayn, it doesn't matter if the people in need are his enemies, whether they've done something bad to you, he still helped them. So brothers and sisters, these are not just our brothers and sisters in humanity that need our help. These are our brothers and sisters in Islam that need our help. So please, through this campaign, if you take anything from it today or in the future, please remember that your donations are very much so welcome. And it's something that I think Imam Husayn alayhi salam expects us to do. Salawat alayhi.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
It is a pleasure for me now to welcome up our next guest speaker, and I know him very well. And he is no stranger to TMA events, as he has presented and given us da'wah in the past, whether it be al-Iman discourses or iftars. And in fact, he's no stranger either to speakers panels. In this university, he has given interfaith dialogues representing the Islamic Muslim point of view in these dialogues. And mashallah, there has been great feedback with this. So without further ado, it is my honor to please bring onto the stage and please welcome him with a loud salawat, Brother Adil Hussain.
I would like to, in the beginning, before I begin, I would like to thank the wonderful reciter. And I prefer to listen to him instead of me talking to him. I enjoyed his recitation. And I also would like to thank Brother Mahmoud for enlightening us for the plight of our Pakistani brothers and sisters in Pakistan. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us all to give whatever little we have to make a difference in that regard. I also would like to thank the organizers, particularly Sister Saja. I'm pretty sure she must be here today. Okay, so my great appreciation to Sister Saja for giving me the opportunity to be standing here before you to give a few words and to be part of this wonderful and great human event. And I'm also delighted to tell you that this event actually is organized by two Muslim groups. And that's something really gives me an honor and happiness. Now, finally, we have Muslim groups are able to work together and to see beyond the differences that might appear to be differences, but actually they are silly and mundane issues, and then we should learn how to cooperate in serving a bigger purpose than all of us. That is the cause of mankind. So, with this I would like to begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. يا الذين إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. السلام على الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين. سلام الله منا أبدا ما بقينا وبقي الليل والنهار. أما بعد، اللهم اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني. I think the title was chosen by the organizers is truly important and very profound. And I'm happy to see that title is being expressed and being the subject matter today. I think in order for us to really truly appreciate what Imam Husayn sacrificed in the true sense, in a more universal perspective, and in fact every human being on this planet, if he or she recognizes the true meaning of this particular event, will, in fact, definitely, will stand in salute for this great Imam. And in order for us to really appreciate, we could only make an attempt. No one, I can assure you that, no one really truly will ever fully understand what the secrets of this event and also what is the various dimensions of this wonderful personality whom we call Hussein. But we could only make an attempt. We could have only a glimpse of what actually has happened. And what really made this individual, whom we call Imam Husayn, so unique from the others. As we know, there are many people in the history of mankind. Sacrifices and war have been fought in the most profound way, and bravery, and sincerity and honesty and all that. Yes, we all know that. But something very profound, extraordinary about this Imam, that we call Imam Husyan. The first aspect I would like to talk about is in a more metaphysical way, so that we could look at the soul and the nafs of this wonderful personality, Imam Husayn. The nafs and the reality of Imam Husayn. What is it? What made this man actually go so far and the extra mile in excellence in terms of attaining these high stations before God? After all, we all know, according to traditions and history, that the Imam actually need not to strive for more jihad and ways and to prove to the world that he is an Imam or he is this or he is that. His place and station was already recognized by the Muslims at the time. During the Prophet time, after the Prophet, and throughout his lifetime. In fact, according to the tradition, we know that Imam Husayn has already secured his station in paradise, according to the Prophet of Islam. So why do you, for someone who knows he's going to heaven, why even bother go this extra mile to go and sacrifice for himself and for his comrades and his family? Obviously, the first message we learn about this, I spoke about this in the past, is to strive for excellence. It's not to be satisfied with whatever achievement you think you have achieved. To keep going at your achievements and to keep going and pursuing more knowledge and more achievements in the soul. That is the first message we could learn from this. Because he didn't need to go anywhere. He could have stayed in Medina or in Mecca and enjoyed all the fame and prestige as many other scholars of his time. And in fact, that's in the world. But in the hereafter as well, he has that prestige and you'll be as close as to the prophets of God. That is known to us. So what made this personality strive for more? The Holy Quran tells us, الَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلُنَا. Obviously, Imam Husayn has, in this particular event, has striven for more and more and more, but he was shown something extraordinary. He was shown subul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These subul cannot be achieved that easily. In fact, the invitation is open to all. Imam Husayn, for us, as a symbol, as an example of how a human being like Imam Husayn, which is made of blood and flesh, feels like you and aspire and hope like us and feel the pain like us, but yet he would actually strive for more, and he would strive for more paths toward the glory of God. According to our philosophers, there are two ways or two approaches to this particular concept which I would like to talk about. What really happened on the fields of Karbala, as I said, very profound. A theophany of the divine. For those who are taking philosophy, they should know. Theophany means tajalli in Arabic. Tajalliyat of the divine on the plain of Karbala. And particularly, that theophany and the tajalli of the divine truth and God himself has manifested himself or tajalla to the hearts of Husayn. And from that point on, that event has absolutely transformed Imam Husayn from just an Imam of this world, an Imam of the other world, but something more than that. he has become a more profound and more secret to us, that today you and I are sitting and putting all these little pictures of what happened that day, and we're listening to wonderful qasida or poetry or proses to signify the sacrifice he made. And that is a testimony to what really happened on that day of Karbala, on the day of Ashura. Actually, the transformation began from the moment he was born until the moment he died. It didn't happen just like that overnight. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in his eternal knowledge, he was very much aware that this man, whom we call Husayn, is going towards Allah in every step of the way. So let's not go too far during his birth. There's no time for that. But let me begin from the process of transformation in realizing the divine truth to manifest itself in his heart. When he began the journey from Mecca and Medina and then towards Karbala, all this process of transformation was actually going on. No one has, of course, noticed, only the Imam himself. But actually, the effect of that transformation has actually touched the hearts of his comrades. And that's, imagine just the effect of such transformation has touched the hearts of his comrades, and the comrades have become like him on the plain of Karbala. So the theophany of the divine truth has manifested itself. Now, according to philosophy, that there might be, in a very short way, there are two approaches to this. The theophany, or the tajalli of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is maybe understood in 3 stages, or 3 levels. According to Ibn Arabi, for some may not be welcomed in their thoughts, others they respect very much. But however, we take what he says, and we're not obliged to necessarily consider it to be as divine or so on. So it's only an opinion. He says there are 3 levels of theophany of the divine within the heart. There's the theophany or essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not going to go into details, something you could do probably by your own. I just want to touch across this very quickly so we could actually have an idea what made this event so powerful. So powerful that even us, we cannot do justice to it. We have not even understood what all the event is all about. And I'll maybe elaborate more on this. So the theophany of the divine essence of God, and then the next level will be the theophany of the divine attributes of God. And the third one, the theophany of the tajalli of the divine acts of God. That's 3 levels. This all goes on at the same time, one after the other. Allah knows best. But we only could understand that there is something profound and divine is occurring here. Now, according to Ibn Arabi, he said that throughout the creation, the being, the entire creation of God, the being, the divine being, as he calls it, there is a profound unity. Unity in the entire creation of God. Meaning he thinks that the one divine reality produces one unity, even though we perceive them to be multiple. There's multiplicity of existence, as we all know, but yet in the very fabric of its realities, of these multiples, there's only one reality, that is the divine of the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the other opinion suggests that other theologians, al-mutakallimun, believe that no, there is multiplicity from the one, and it's based on the emanation. Perhaps some of you may have taken this in school. But no need to go into details. What I truly believe, that something profound happened. That the divine, the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has embodied all the way around. The heart of Husayn has actually embodied the divine attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it went into action. And that can be seen from the well-known hadith Qudsi, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kuntu kanzan makhfiyan fa'ahbabtu an a'raf, meaning, I was a hidden treasure. I love to be known. Now, the loving aspect of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a necessary act for him to be known. So the nature of his love is he needed to be known. And he makes it possible for him to be known by the hearts of those who strive for him. And on the top of that list, as we are talking today, is Imam Husayn himself. He strived to know the truth. And he strived to do more and more and more. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enabled him, enabled his heart to connect to that higher reality that we all strive for. Now, from a Quranic perspective, at-tajalli, the manifestation of God, in a very, very profound words, spoken of in the case of Musa. When Musa asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I believe that's chapter 7, maybe 143 verse, if I'm not wrong. Musa is actually demanded or requested from Allah to show him himself. And that's a very, very serious thing to ask. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not punish people when they want to ask. And that's something we should learn, that we should ask. Don't be afraid, ask. If Moses alayhi salam has the guts to ask the Almighty Allah in a very spiritual way, show me yourself. I guess anything else is possible to ask. But however, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to Moses by saying, "You shall not see me." After that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it very clear that seeing Allah, especially in these contexts of the worldly parameters and dimensions and physical world, absolutely not acceptable. Now, whether we see God in the Day of Judgment, I'll leave it out of the topic. But in this world, Allah made it clear that, no, you shall not see me. But He made another gesture. He made another way that you may be to see something. I'll let you see something, but not me, of course, because He made it clear it's not me. But He said, I will show you a manifestation of me. But He told him that if my manifestation, which is فَلَمَّا تَجَلَّى رَبُّهُ لِلْجَبَلِ, when God has revealed Himself to the mountain, and then He told him, if the mountain stands in itself, meaning sustain, embrace that theophany, tajalli, manifestation, revealing of the divine to the mountain, if the mountain stands to sustain and receive that and survives the contact, or I would call the impact, between reality, a divine reality, and the materialistic aspect of this world. The verse tells us the mountain could not sustain it. فَصَعَقَ Musa, or the mountain was absolutely brought into dust, as the Quran suggests. So here we have, from a Quranic perspective, the tajalli was not sustained by a powerful mountain. But in the plain of Karbala, the heart of Hussein actually sustained the manifestation of the divine upon his heart. And that is, I truly believe, that is the secret, one of the secrets, of course, one of the secrets which enabled Imam Husayn message to survive and to live like as if it has just happened. It has its own divine momentum, and it has its own eternal fire and flame. It will never die, because it has been touched by the divine flame, as we know the reality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's from the metaphysical approach to this, and the Quranic approach. Now, I would like to focus more so that we could appreciate the impact and the true difference that this revolution, human event, has really brought to the world. Because we have been celebrating, commemorating for centuries. And it seems a very small part of the world is doing so. And unfortunately, the rest of the world, in fact, indifference, or in fact, not even noticed. It goes by very quickly. The lovers of Hussein celebrate or commemorate and cry and lament and show beautiful emotions and sorrow and sadness. It's all wonderful. How can we appreciate this event. Obviously, let me focus and zoom in on only one thing. The true essence of this event is reform, as is clearly stated by the Imam. لم أخرج أشرا ولا بطرا ولا مفسدا ولا ظالما وإنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة الجنة. Li, here is the reason, the purpose, the true essence for him to go this extra mile, as I said a minute ago. For that particular act or need or necessity to let the Imam to begin his journey is to be one with the one, is to make it so worthwhile that this particular cause is absolutely worthy for the sacrifice Imam Husayn has given. Which one is the reform? The reform, as we know, it's something which is an attempt by us, when we recognize something is not right, we try to bring something, that thing, to its own original state, so that it will function better, properly. That is in the intention. But the idea of reform itself, it was very alien to the Muslim community of his time. Well, they were asking maybe to themselves, reform what? What do we need to reform? We have Islam, we have the minarets, we have the adhan, we have the prayers, we have the hajj, khums, zakah. We have a Muslim empire extending all over the place, plundering and opening up countries and under the pretext of justice and so on. We know the Muslim, the Umayyad Empire. So, to reform what? What is there to reform? That is one of the reasons that the Muslims were actually sleeping. Their conscience was in a sleeping mode. They have no idea what Imam Husayn actually is intending to reform. They thought he wanted to reform maybe the prayers. He wanted to ask people to go pray or to go do this and do that. So they thought Imam Husayn's intention to reform the exoteric aspect of Islam, which is represented by the ritual aspect, the mechanics of Islam, prayers and hajj and so on and so forth. But all those things were in there already. In fact, the very army of Yazid who slain and killed and murdered the family of Hussein and himself were actually praying on the battlefield. So what is there to reform in their mind? That is why they were strongly fighting against Imam Hussain. Because to them, from their perspective, reforming what? This guy is an outcast. We don't need to reform. So in their mind, in their psyche, which after the death of the prophets and years after, some kind of a trend of thought was beginning to establish, to take root in the mind of people. And that is, as long as a Muslim ruler ascends to power, regardless of the means, whether it's force, intimidation, coercion, as long as a Muslim, we must obey. There is nothing in their mind, in their philosophy, in their teachings, that a ruler ought to be measured by serving the people, by pursuing social justice. That was not in their vocabulary. Otherwise, they cannot behave that way. So, reforming to them was a waste and was in vain. The Imam was looked as somebody in vain, and he need not to do anything like that. He should go back and pay allegiance, because we have a Muslim ruler to their mind. So the Imam, actually, from his perspective, was looking at more deeper and more profound mission. That is to reform what? To reform the moral aspect of man, the esoteric aspect of religion. And that was his main focus. That was, in fact, in many speeches, when you listen to his speeches on the battlefield, he was trying to communicate this to them, but they could not understand him. The moment when he started crying, and when they asked him why he cried, he said, "I'm crying because you people are going to hellfire because of me." They could not see the depth of his mission. And he said, "I am seeking reform. Reform in the moral, in the conscience of man." And that aspect of morality was not there. So imagine Hussein alayhi salam is not there. He stayed in Medina. We will continue having Muslim empires, of course, until today. And then the Muslims will be absolutely subjugated. And they will not even be aware, consciously, that there is something called rejection of tyranny. That will not become part of their mindset. Because it's not there. They thought, after the transformation that the Prophet brought about in Arabia, they thought everything is hunky-dunky. Oh, wonderful, beautiful. All the others are gone. Now the Muslim leader is going to rule us. وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. So you have to give an allegiance to whoever comes to power. And they were under the impression that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that was the trend of thought, was being taught, and it was trying to take hold in the Muslim mind. That is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala controls all the events and affairs. That is known. Therefore, if Allah does not want this ruler to ascend to power, then He should not let him. Because Allah is aware and is capable of preventing that ruler, but He did not, He allowed him, therefore we have to obey. So the idea of rising against injustice, oppression, and all the rest will follow, it is something that would not have been possible for us to even to recognize. And in fact, that very thought was absent in the minds of the entire world. And that's where Imam Husayn's contribution comes in. The entire world was ruled by a brutal empires, the Romans and the Persians and what have you. We all know that. They were all born and raised, many of them as slaves. They were all, and even those free ones, they also believed that these people on the top, the elites, are chosen by God. And that is the concept of the Umayyad wanted to pass on to the Muslims, that they wanted to go in the back door, through the back doors, and that is to establish monarchy. But they didn't say monarchy, but they made it in a different way. So in the world at that time, during the Imam Husayn's time, was a very similar, aware that it is all right to rise against injustice. They were not even heard of that. When the event of Karbala occurred, Imam Husayn has changed the history of mankind forever. Because it has given the rise, even within the Muslim community, to various schools of thoughts, to various movements and rebellious movements against injustice. Without Husayn, this kind of trend of thoughts, a Muslim individuals cannot comprehend the idea it is okay to fight and to voice out your rejection to a Muslim ruler. It doesn't matter, the Imam teaches, it doesn't matter whether he's a Muslim or not, whether he is a just ruler or not. That is the very concept that Imam Husayn wanted to touch upon and to pass on to us. So the profound impact Imam Husayn revolution has on the world is absolutely, he has given the human consciousness a powerful dynamics to keep all the time aware and alert that injustice cannot be tolerated. And the Western world have benefited from this. Why? Because the Muslim empires at the time were very much powers to be reckoned. Anything they do, it will affect everywhere else. Any decisions they made, it will affect anyone. Any event occurs in the Muslim world, it goes abroad. And the Muslims also went abroad, open countries and so on. So that philosophy of being able to say no to injustice was preached by the very event of Imam Husayn. So the impact of Imam Husayn revolution is absolutely eternal. And whether we know it or not is irrelevant. Imam Husayn did not sacrifice because he wanted to be remembered. Because he wanted to, for us to sit down in Canada or in Karbala, maybe sit down and we cry. That's not his intention, or at least that's not what he necessarily expected. What he wanted to do, his own mission, is to bring back that moral compass of man towards the right direction. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَطْرَةُ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this particular verse telling us that the pure innate fitrah, or pure essence of Allah, he didn't say of God, of man, of Allah, فَطَرَ اللَّهِ he has infused, embedded in the very consciousness of man. And he also goes on by saying, لا تبديل لخلق الله. This fitrah cannot change. No matter where you are, where you're born, you are still able to recognize that honesty is good, lying is bad, helping the others is a good thing, and so on and so forth. Now, one of the blessings of Imam Husayn's revolution today, that we actually, as the brother Mahmoud alluded in his introduction, that the people of Pakistan need our help. Why? Because this is the true essence of the sacrifice of Imam Husayn, is to keep our conscience alive, to activate our moral aspect within us, is to try to connect with the others. And no matter who he is, whether, like Brother Mahmoud said, whether it's our enemy or whether a different in our faith, it doesn't matter. Just be or follow your fitrah, which has been infused into man by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think with this, I will end my speech, and I thank you very much. In fact, maybe in the QA, perhaps we could probably touch upon more of the issues. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother Adil. It was very much appreciated, your lecture, and inshallah we can all benefit from this. At this time, I'd like to open up the floor to the audience if they have any questions. You can raise your hand, and if you're not shy, you can answer it that way, or if you want, we can give you out a piece of paper. We're going to give everybody a piece of paper, so don't be shy. You're going to get opportunity to answer any questions, ask any questions that you may have. Now, the only thing is that we appreciate it if the questions could be geared towards the topic of the lecture today. If you have any other questions that were related to fiqh or jurisprudence, we would ask that you kindly please ask your ayatollah or marja at-taqleed. So, with that said, before everybody has any questions, I just like to say that we have a donation box at the front. So before you guys get your refreshments in a couple of minutes, I'd like to say please donate to this cause, and for the sake of humanity and the message of Imam Husayn, please donate. Again, other reminder on the dates, February 19th is the deadline to register for the soccer tournament, so if anybody wants to register for that, and as I said, all the proceeds are going to be going towards our campaign here. So please just go on the Facebook page and go from there. So, Salam Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
May Salam bring his whole entire family to Karbala. Brother Abdul Hussain, could you please elaborate? And then in the meantime, I set up the floor, so please, if you have any questions, feel free.
Very nice question, actually. I intend to cover it, but there's a lot to be said. So I think from Imam Husayn's perspective, carrying with him that flame and that responsibility and that awareness of the divine within him, he was looking really way beyond than anyone could imagine. And what's really at stake is the human moral aspect was just going down the drain after all these achievements of the prophets of God, and lastly with the Prophet Muhammad. So he thought to himself that this mission cannot be conducted by him alone, because he wanted to leave behind a book of life. Imam Husayn, actually, then, is a book of life. A book of life consists of many chapters. And life is what? Life, the very core of life, as we know here in this world, is a family. Family, you have a brother, a sister, an aunt, a nephew, friend, and a friend of all kinds of friends, right? So the composition of Imam Husayn's or group is very extraordinary. It tells you that he did not leave any segment of society, from all different colors, different backgrounds. In fact, one of them was a Christian, according to the history. And young and old, brother, a sister, a cousin, a friend, as I said. So it really is a cross section of what constitutes a family, or in a bigger term, a society. So he wanted to leave behind a legacy in the form of a beautiful book, so that we could learn from each other. If you are a sister, you learn from Hussein. How the sister conducted herself in the face of calamity. If you are a brother, then you know how to conduct yourself in the face of calamity and sacrifice. And if you are a cousin, you know what to do. And if you are a little baby or little kid, all of these things absolutely has a precise dimensions and purpose. And Imam Hussein decided to take his family. Leave alone the traditions which suggest that he was a man and all that, but just take it as its pure beauty. The Imam knew very well that the trip is very, very hard. No transportation, and you'll be harassed and hassled on the way. But he just wanted to conclude that particular event and present it to us in the most profound way, so that we could learn from it. That's it.
I have a question, Haj. How do I reply back to someone who tells me that the Iraqi people or the Shias of Kufa killed Husayn alayhi salam? How do you reply back to this?
Well, okay, the question was the Iraqi people or the Kufa people right now? Okay, so it doesn't matter, all of them.
The Iraqis.
You tell them right away, the Quran says, وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. Do not let the burden of someone to be carried by someone else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will only have individuals responsible for their actions. Those criminals who committed the crime on the day of Karbala, on the day of Ashura, are the one who will carry that burden of the murdering Hussein. Whether they are members of the Shia or not, that's irrelevant. First and second of all, there was no such thing in those days, Shia and Sunnis in those days. But just those notions did not give to rise yet. So this is very much, it represents to me someone who does not exactly know his own religion or his own Quran. How can you have somebody responsible for a crime has been committed many centuries ago and lay the blame on people just living nowadays? It just makes no sense. So that's the answer here. There's a question asked by brother here pertaining the issue of manifestation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the heart of Hussein. The question is, if a mountain could not contain the divinity of Allah, how could a small membrane, human heart, contain it? Is Imam Husayn's heart different from that of Musa? Well, so first of all, the Quran, from the Quranic perspective, whenever it mentions the heart, it does not mean that muscle that we have in the chest, in the cavity of the chest. It's absolutely not the same. The cavity of the heart in our cavity of the chest is not necessarily what it meant when we say the heart. Usually, from the Quranic perspective, is the center of man's faith and morality and taqwa. It's just a reference to that. Just like when you say the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The throne of Allah doesn't mean that Allah has a throne and sits on it. When we say, when the Quran says, ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى عَلَى الْعَرْشِ, then he had ascended the throne. We know very well that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a physical body, does not ascend on anything. He doesn't have to. Rather, in fact, he dominates the entire creation and beyond with one single command, and that is as well. So the throne, in this particular case in the Quran, represents power and might, and God's power and might extends over the domain of existence, which is referred to in the Quran as the throne. Same thing, the heart, often referred to as the center of man's faith and belief. وَقَالَ الْأَعْرَابُ آمَنَّا, there's a verse in the Quran there, and some Arab tribes came to the Prophet and said, oh, we have believed. He said, don't say we believe, say we are Muslims, until the faith enters your hearts. So it's the Quranic perspective always employs terms which may have connotations in the physical sense, in the physical terms, but it may not necessarily mean exactly that. But thank you for asking.
Actually, it's a comment that leads to a question. Of course, the Quran deals with both aspects of the human being, the physical and the metaphysical. I like that verse that you mentioned in the end, and then you said that the فطرة Allah, it's the nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that he فطر الناس عليها. When he said nas, he said people. And he did not say that it's specific to a specific group, to Muslims. And when I look at this verse, I look at it from the perspective of a person who wants to create, let's say, a way to deal with other people, other religions, other sects. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا, the nature of Allah that He instilled in people. لا تبديل لخلق الله, what he said. لا تبديل, Allah is not going to change it. Then my question is that if this is instilled in the souls of the people, then what makes us believe that we are right? What makes us believe that we are the people of heaven and that they are the people of fire? When I believe, my soul, I believe that we are all equal.
Thank you, Brian. Well, that's precisely the question. I guess you heard the question. You mean to say, what is the measuring stick?
I'm saying,
determine which one.
This verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly slaps an arrogant Muslim on his face saying that this is enough. Right?
Yes.
Why do we come and say that we are the people of heaven?
Absolutely right, yes. So the idea is, this is one of the most profound verses, in my opinion. Really, all of us should really ponder about it. Because from this verse, you can learn a lot. You just basically, you are going right to the core of the idea of faith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in this verse, He wants to tell us that there is something very profound and divine in all of us. Doesn't matter your race, your ethnicity, or your language, or even your denomination. Even doesn't matter whether you say you're a Muslim or non-Muslim. Because the verse talks very clearly about something really divine, which is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is still in man's nature, in man's spiritual nature, of course, not in the divine nature, and not in the physical nature. That particular one, which, as I said a while ago, it was the mission of Imam Husayn, to try to bring our attention to it. That was the precise mission of Imam Husayn, which was a worthy cause for the Imam and his family, and for all the supporters of it, is to try to commemorate and to try to bring out the beauty of this event, because you want us to go back to the fitrah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not to be enslaved by the man-made conditions of understanding and interpreting the laws of Allah, interpreting the Quran, the Sharia laws and so on. It's all good. You could take it. But do not lose focus from your pure fitrah. Meaning, through your fitrah, you're able to know that that act or this act is absolutely will bring harm to others, or is going to bring benefits to others. It's just simple as this. We all know that certain acts, you don't need to be a philosopher or a scholar, that basic acts of our daily engagement. By the very nature of our divine nature, we are able, because Allah is merciful. He will not let us a toy in the hands of God knows who. Because man could make mistakes. No one says that the ulama, the respected ulama are infallibles. They could make mistakes. And they even say it to us. In fact, Sheikh Muzaffar, one of the notorious Shia scholars, does in fact signify this fact that regardless of what you want to follow, what you marja you want to follow, it is you, at the end of the day, you have to decide that this act or that act, or this fatwa, to tell you what act to do, it's going to make, or to make you useful in the bigger picture. To make you part of the human affairs. To make a difference in people's lives. It's you the follower. Don't give a complete surrender. Even the respected ulama, they said over and over again, listen and read. And you have to write the final. Although there are some opinions say that, well, just follow the alim. That's your choice. It comes to you. Really, it's your choice. If you want to follow exactly what you're told, it's fine. But remember, your actions ought to be recognized by your fitrah, your pure nature inside you. You will not fail to understand that your action, which you have been told by others, whether scholar or not scholar, is actually going to make, is going to bring harm to others, or it's going to make a difference in people's lives. So that is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala left within us, is to try to measure things. And we have the Holy Quran as a wonderful means to try to activate this pure fitrah within us, is to enable us to discern between right and wrong. And as we all know, teachings, whatever you want to call it, Muslim thoughts and teachings, absolutely beautiful. We all learn from it. But we have to remember that all of these teachings ought to be taken as means to achieve a bigger purpose, that is to serve the cause of humanity. We should not take these teachings as being sacred, cannot be challenged or cannot be discussed, because even though you know this is going to bring harm, no, it doesn't matter because he or she said that. So anyway, that is something, my own approach to this. It is up to you to how to take it, how to approach it. You could still continue following exactly what you're told, that's fine. But remember that you are part of this world. And your obligation is to be part of the human cause, to be part of the human movement. And then you will be a good element of change in this world. And that's the main thing you have to remember, never to remember to reform. And all the messages of God have made one statement. Look at the whole Quran verses. And every messenger communicated to the people, said, I don't want anything from you. I don't want any fame, any money. All I want is reform. That is the reform Imam Husayn brought to the world in its most wonders and marvels. It opened it to its on the side for us to see and to feel and to benefit. Whether we recognize his achievement or not, it is done. In fact, some people might say, well, you know, if we don't commemorate, if we don't cry, if we don't do this, whatever these activities which Shias have, which I respect, have nothing to do with that. But they say if we don't do that, then we will lose the cause of Hussein. I sincerely disagree. It's a wonderful thing to cry and commemorate and show emotion. That is within our rights to do that. To express yourself, that's fine. But I truly believe that the cause of Hussein is much bigger than that. It has already done its cause, has changed the world forever. The world now, today, they recognize that there is something evil, something good. They recognize that injustice cannot be tolerated. This is all because of the work of Imam Husayn. So you could do whatever you want to do. Husayn's blame will never be by any means. The question is an interesting question. Non-Muslims ask, Why we cry over a man who died more than 100 years ago? Are our tears a proof of our faith? Well, this is a very touchy question. For many of you may be, but before I answer this question, please remember that our intentions here is not to create controversies and all that. You have to accept the notion of self-expression. For example, these questions are beautiful. Everybody wants to ask, they want to know. But we must adopt and honor the ways that our ancestors did. In fact, if you look at the early stage of Islam, Muslims were asking all kinds of questions. If today these questions are asked, either will be flagged, hanged, condemned, or annihilated. If Moses, as we see in the verse, asked Allah, show me yourself. Right? So, I mean, what is more bigger than this question? It's to tell us that you could ask any question you want. And you could express any answer you want. Because we have to be free thinkers. Once you allow yourself to be someone who is influenced by the other factors and the repercussions and the refusal of others and so on, then you did not do yourself justice. So the question about tears. The tears are wonderful. It is within humans' rights to express their way, how they see event, how they could understand that particular event. It's all right. But we have to be very careful. We have to be very conscious of the precise purpose of this event. You could cry as much as you want, but never lose focus on the achievements and the true purpose of Husayn's event. And I would ask, we have been doing this for 1,430 odd years. And it's really moving when you watch these wonderful thousands and millions in Karbala. And I grew up in that environment. I'm not an outsider, so people might say, this guy doesn't know anything, and he just doesn't know what he's talking about. I grew up in the middle of these millions. I opened my eyes to this act and that act and the chaining of the band. I've seen all that. I grew up. But I'm asking only a question. If any act you want to do, anything you want to do, over and over and over again, don't you think you expect it should have done something good? Bring a result to you? That's a question I'm asking. If you keep doing something over and over again, then you expect by common sense that something should be done to your character or to your being that will improve your life, will improve your thinking. So, and that's a fair question, right? But unfortunately, if you look at the situation in the Muslim world today, now let's be frank, and as I said in the beginning, let's be open. Because there is no way we as people, whether in the Muslim world or here, we cannot progress further unless we truly be honest and criticize and fairly look into what we are doing. Then, by this process, then either we say, well, keep doing it, or we should do something next to it, we should improve it, we should enhance it, by all means. So, to me, I have seen this, I've grown up on that. I don't see any evidence, and I say this with pain and with really sorrow, I do not see any evidence of any benefit of these wonderful emotions. I would love them to continue, don't get me wrong. But what is the benefit of them? I, as a testimony to you, I escaped Iraq. Okay? And we have been doing this in Iraq, in Karbala.
But that's an unfair assessment, do you not think so?
Let me finish this, and then, inshallah, I will definitely address your concern. I don't see any evidence. And I say it not because somebody has told me, because I, as a testimony to that, I and many millions many thousands, have actually fled the Muslim lands. We have a wonderful people in Karbala, Najaf, in Iraq, in Iran, truly love the same. But there is something missing in all of these events. Something truly profound missing. That is the human being himself. The true meaning of that event has not seeped yet into the core of man. We have only touched upon, which is important, only in respect to the exoteric of this event. We have not tapped on yet to the beauty of this event, which could bring marvels to the world. I have not seen any evidence in the Muslim world. Absolutely no evidence. Maybe some here and there, but in terms of the bigger picture, it's insignificant. In the Muslim world today, we have the most brutal regimes, the most injustices and poverties, and Muslims are fleeing from the Muslim land. Let's go back to Karbala, Najaf, and all these areas. We have seen the Muslim factions fight with each other. In fact, even fight over who does this mawqif first, who does this mawqif first. They, in fact, sometimes they even act close to even killing each other in the midst of these affairs. So it's nice, it's wonderful. And the tears is not necessarily a sign of faith, a sign of loving something. It's got nothing to do with faith, really, because we often cry over many things. Tears, we cry over many events, because human beings are made of emotions. So it is part of our character to cry. So crying in the events of Hussein is very important, because that shows our love to him. By all means, it's wonderful. But I'm just trying to be honest with you and candid with you, to be critical. Because I cannot allow myself, by just pretending everything is good and we are the best. We have the best philosophy, but we have not used the best of it. And that's very clear. Let's not fool ourselves. Let's be very specific and be clear and see where have we gone in this wonderful revolution of Imam Husyan. Now, please go ahead.
Yeah, just, I understand your point. Of course, it's important to be critical and academic,
Yes.
probably in every aspect of your life. But I do find this statement a bit alarming and misleading.
Which one is it?
That you did live amongst that community and that you basically had to escape that. But what did you escape? Was it those acts that you escaped, or was it that regime that was there at that time? But allow me to finish.
Please go ahead.
Because if a person did escape a certain regime, there's many political aspects that were involved in that environment that could have maybe propagated or projected or amplified whatever it may be in that, we're talking social economics here. We're not talking about religious beliefs or a system in itself. But furthermore, we can also look at it, and this is very important. To be critical means to look at both sides, right? We have to look at something objectively, or however, whatever angle it may be. But we have to assess and say that we do have a message after 1,400 years. Maybe we can develop it to grow it stronger. Definitely, I think if you're in a state that we're supposed to be in, a Shias of Imam Ali salam, then we would see the faraj, I guess. But at the same time, there is room for advancement, but we shouldn't just critique or demolish the foundations that did bring us to 1,400 years of remembrance.
What foundation, please, can you elaborate?
The foundation of, in itself, or in essence, you did mention a lot remembrance, and you said that there was the importance of the act of how we should project Imam Husayn's message, right? How do we take it upon ourselves to go about and live in a society, and how to apply his message, not necessarily go home and cry, or let's say in our communities cry, but both work hand in hand, one and the same. There is no action without remembrance, right? So you have to, that's the foundation. Just sit, the foundation of his message, of Imam Husayn's message.
Which part is it?
The part of both.
You mean the crying and
Of course, to remember, and then to take that remembrance and apply it in society. You can't take, we won't have, if we don't have a message and there isn't remembrance of it, then we're missing a component, because we can't reach stage 2 if we don't have stage 1. We have to remember something, then apply or take whatever message there is to it. We can't just jump into the next stage.
Yes.
A person is born as a child and develops into an adult. We're not adults.
I have a question.
No, let me,
Of course.
I appreciate your, luckily are you taking this or good? If you could go back when you have a chance.
Sure.
You're basically agreeing with me. I am absolutely in agreement with you as well. All I said, whatever the status quo right now, is absolutely in respect to the exoteric of the event. And it's important. We have to have the exoteric and the esoteric. The esoteric is not yet has been that one. I really appreciate your comment, and I agree with you 100%. It's important, but we have failed. And I truly believe this. We have failed. You know, any nation, and I say this with conviction, any nation who has this Hussein in there among themselves, or his legacy, they cannot be in this miserable stance as we are today. And I truly respect, and I think it's very important to have that aspect of the exoteric of the event. Crying, and I cry. I do my chest. Beautiful. I'm not saying don't do that. So please, you could refer back to what I said.
Of course.
You will and you will see both of us in agreement.
No, of
I
course.
appreciate that.
Haj, can I say something?
No, I think he's raised his hand first. I'll get back to you. But don't worry.
Afwan Haj, you didn't answer one thing for me. Could you
Yes.
just clarify also this? You did discuss that you had escaped something.
Oh yes, no, okay.
The message for me was that you escaped.
Maybe you misunderstood something. Yeah. No.
Because I understand.
Yes,
I understand where
I
you're coming
appreciate
from.
this.
I'd like to clarify with
I
everyone. appreciate
appreciate this very much, and I owe you an explanation on this particular. No, as we all know, Iraq is very well known. I escaped Saddam's brutality, as many of you over here. In fact, many of you were children when I came to Canada, and your fathers and us, we were meeting in those days. In fact, your father perhaps used to be meeting with us, and we all share the same plight, the same dilemma. His father also escaped, and I'm sure you know that. So when I escaped that situation, what I'm saying is, this situation of Saddam Hussein did not rise from a vacuum. Please remember that. This is a collective attempts and a whole sorry, thank you, I appreciate that. Accumulation of a long history of brutality and misinterpretations of the beautiful teachings of Imam Husayn, misinterpretations of the teachings of the Imams, and misinterpretations of the Quran and the Prophet. All of this brought us to that situation of Saddam Hussein, and it's all part of it. You cannot look at Saddam's brutality, even today. Today, brutality on the hands of many of these Muslim groups fight with each other. It cannot come from a vacuum. We are a product of our own history and culture and values. So I did not escape from that. By the way, I would love to go, but if you go, I'll go with you to Karbala. I promise. I would love to go back to that environment. What I'm saying is, we need to benefit from this wonderful cause. And you could cry as much, in fact, keep crying, why not? But we must not lose focus on the very essence of this revolution. And we must be wary of drenching this revolution by only tears alone. That is my alignment to this. Thank you, I appreciate your honesty and open mind. Yes?
There's actually questions in there too. I think there's a question that relates to one from the.
How my question?
Because these people
There's one here?
No,
Okay, this is done.
this one about the revolution.
I have a question.
Mahmoud.
They have questions.
I have a question.
This question was asked first, and it relates to all of this. So maybe it could conclude on.
It may, but this one is.
More important, how do you know? Just wait your turn. I can wait.
These.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Asked the question before he wrote it down, and everybody.
Okay, very quickly, I'll just let you. I'll be very brief. And please, at any point, you could just object, raise your hand like Abdullah did, by all means. Because you see, we're all here to listen to each other, right? And no one can claim that they have the truth. Remember this. No one can impose your opinion, his opinion, or her opinion on anyone, because no one has the absolute truth. We all searching for the truth, right? So remember that. I know I'm feeling it. If we get in contact, me and you guys, at the end we're gonna shake hands and we kiss and we hug and then don't call me again.
And we eat, of course.
Okay, in terms of the reform, how does this relate to what is happening in the Arab world today, like Egypt, Tunisia? There won't be a truly just Islamic ruler of government, in my opinion. I'm going to repeat this segment. There won't be a truly just Islamic ruler of government, in my opinion, until the Mahdi comes. So, are these relations or revelations? Are these revelations, revolutions related to that of Hussein? The answer is very simple. Absolutely yes. In fact, I wanted to cover this in my speech, but I didn't want to get into politics because it's not fair. Sometimes some of you are not necessarily interested in politics. But this is not politics. This is the fruits of Imam Husayn's revolution. It is wonderful to see, after all these centuries, to see an innocent, non-political, non-Islamist, whatever you want to call it, actually taking the roads and taking the streets to say no to tyranny. That's what Imam Husayn has done. And that particular aspect of the thinking, of the thought, that say no to tyranny, that would not be possible without Husayn's sacrifice. Absolutely as simple as this. Any human being today is able to say that, recognize that, come to this reality within himself. Tyranny is not accepted because of Husayn has absolutely directed our fitrah back to its original state, because he was very much, he felt the danger of that trend of thought that it's okay to be ruled by brutal dictators and so on. So today is a clear testimony to the beautiful teachings and the legacy of Husayn. We are actually witnessing it in our own lifetime. Where in the very lands that we embraced those teachings, but those teachings were not necessarily properly understood or even interpreted by many various reasons. But thank you for asking the question. And as to the question of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, certainly we all have to honor and respect the idea that in terms of human being establishes a just ruler on earth is something we know for a fact for many centuries now, many thousands of years. It's not possible, because man is a product of two inclinations, evil and good. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. And by the nafs, he has instilled, or he has fashioned it and instilled in it the two potentials, evil and good. So because man has this powerful connection to this world, the materialistic world, he intends, no kind of ظلوما جهولا or كفورا جهولا and so on, he intends to go towards injustice. But at the same time, man, because of his pure fitrah, always recognizes that after this event of Hussein, we are able to recognize there is something called injustice. Even though brutal knows very well, but he said, I cannot do it because I'm so much enslaved by my own evil inclination. So Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, and that concept, that divine concept, every human being believes in, because this is shared by even Jews and Christians and so on, that there is something have to be brought to conclusion. We need justice. Justice cannot be realized in the absolute sense, only maybe in the relative sense. We know that many parts of the world, including Canada, enjoys a wonderful system of justice, but in the relative sense, right? But of course, the absolute one that we know, no one will be experiencing hardship and poverty, diseases and violence and so on. This is only brought by someone who has absolutely no attachment to this world. Who is that person? Of course, we know Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, and we all hope for to be one of his supporters. And also you have to remember that Imam Husayn's, from a different perspective, Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, I'm sorry, it's not only a concept. Don't just take it as a concept that you want to put in your head, in your mind, and that's it. Whatever written in the books about this concept, I have to follow. No. Imam Mahdi's idea is more than a concept. It's the divine desire for our moral aspect is to try to recognize that reality, that there's something out there is going to come and is going to establish the rule of justice. And that is a wonderful idea to be